They came from the cold north, fierce warriors, fearless explorers, and brilliant sailors, the Vikings. To their enemies, they were demons from the sea. To their people, they were heroes. But behind the axes and raids was something even more mysterious. How did these people, with no maps, no satellites, no compasses, dare to cross oceans that others feared? How did they reach lands so far away that history forgot about them for centuries? Some call it luck, others call it myth. But the truth is, the Vikings had secrets. Secrets of the sun, the stars, and even magical crystals. Secrets that turned them into the GPS masters of the ancient world. GPS? The Vikings didn't need it. Long before compasses, the Vikings sailed across freezing North Atlantic, reached places that Europeans wouldn't discover for centuries. From the icy coasts of Greenland to the shores of North America. They did it without Google Maps, without compasses, without modern tools. Instead, they used the sun, the stars, the waves, and even mysterious crystals called sunstones. This is the story of Viking navigation, a system so brilliant that modern science is still trying to understand it. Stay with me until the end, because when you see how the Vikings cracked the code of the open sea, you'll realize your Google Maps can't do that. The Vikings lived in the north, a harsh world of icy winters, short summers, and endless seas. But those seas were not barriers. They were highways. Highways to Britain, to France, to Russia, to Greenland, even to America. Imagine this, a wooden longship. No engine, no compass, no GPS. Only the horizon and the roar of the ocean. Yet they found their way, again and again, across thousands of miles. How? That question has fascinated historians for centuries. The answer? A mix of science, instinct, and pure genius. First, the sun. Vikings tracked the sun's path across the sky. They knew exactly where it would rise, where it would set, and how high it would climb at midday. They built a tool called the sundial compass, a simple wooden circle with a stick in the center. As the sun moved, the shadow moved. By following that shadow, they could hold a steady course. Now think about this. 1,000 years ago, in the middle of the Atlantic, a Viking could glance at a shadow on wood and know his direction. But what about when the sky was cloudy? That's where the Vikings had a secret. The sagas tell us of a crystal that could find the sun, even when it was hidden. Scientists once thought this was myth, but then they tested it. The crystal was real. Iceland spar, a transparent stone with a strange power. When you hold it to the sky, it bends the light, even on a cloudy day. It shows you where the sun is hiding. A Viking navigator could lift this stone, twist it in his hand, and spot the invisible sun. Once he had the sun, he had his direction. Think about it. Centuries before compasses, centuries before satellites, the Vikings had their own GPS. A glowing crystal guiding them across the sea. When the sun set, the stars rose. Vikings studied the night sky. They knew the North Star, Polaris, never moved, always pointing north. They memorized the constellations, the way Orion's belt tilted, the way the Big Dipper pointed, night after night, voyage after voyage. They built a mental map of the heavens. Today, sailors still use stars to navigate, but the Vikings mastered it 1,000 years earlier. Close your eyes. Picture a longship cutting through the waves at midnight. The sea black, the sky ablaze with stars, and a Viking staring upward, charting his course by the light of eternity. But the Vikings didn't stop at sun and stars. They read the ocean itself. Waves move in patterns. Swells roll in steady lines. By feeling the tilt of the ship, a skilled sailor could tell where the land was, where the wind had blown from, even how far from shore they were. Birds gave them clues. If seabirds circled overhead, land was near. If driftwood floated by, they knew which direction it came from. Even the smell of the air could reveal land beyond the horizon. This was navigation as an art form, not just science, not just tools, but instincts honed over generations. Around the year 1000, Leif Erikson, son of Eric the Red, set out from Greenland. No map, no compass, only Viking navigation. He sailed west. Day after day, the Vikings had reached North America. How? Not by luck, not by accident, but by navigation so precise, it defied the odds. Modern science has tested these Viking hacks. Using only sun compasses, sunstones, and star maps, researchers have recreated Viking voyages, and they worked, even across open seas. In fact, some scientists argue Viking navigation was more reliable than the early magnetic compasses. It wasn't just trial and error, it was genius, a system of nature-based navigation, centuries ahead of its time. Today we trust satellites, screens, signals from space. But satellites can fail, batteries can die, signals can vanish. The Vikings remind us of something deeper, that the world itself is a map. The sun, the stars, the waves, the birds. Nature will always guide us, if we know how to read it. So the next time you check Google Maps, remember this. 1,000 years ago, Viking sailors crossed an endless ocean, with nothing but the sky, the sea, and their own brilliance. They didn't just sail into the unknown, they conquered it. This is ancient future. Subscribe now, because the secrets of the past are still shaping our world today. And remember, your Google Maps can't do that.